This is a die-cast Varney F unit from the 1950s, and today I'm going to be trying to restore the thing. But before we get to work on that, let's test this thing out, see what it does. First things first, I need to test the thing out, so I'll give it full power. Full power is now in the tracks, and if you saw, it did just move a little bit. I'll give it a little bit of a push. And it seems like it's really sluggish. I'll try reverse. And it seems a little bit better in reverse. So my guess is there probably is just something gumming up the gearbox or something like that, which I have something new I want to try to clean this thing out, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. Before I tear into this thing, I did want to note something kind of interesting about this locomotive. It's got this bizarre, I think lighting system is the best way to describe it. I don't think this is actually any sort of interior. I've had the shell off. All I did was clear coated this with some satin just to protect this fading paint. And that's kind of what it seemed. I don't know if I want to keep that in there. I might end up removing it, but that'll be a task for later in the video. To get the shell off, it's really simple. It's a kind of bizarre setup. This whole body is in two pieces. You have the roof and then the rest of the locomotive. The actual roof piece is what gets screwed into, and it just kind of holds the body in place. I don't know how Varney came up with that design, but it's kind of bizarre. Alright, so the shell is off the locomotive, and now we just have the chassis. Before we go tearing into everything, I wanted to take a look around this model and some of the things about it. This looks like this whole bizarre lighting system thing. This bulb is really oddly shaped. I'm definitely not going to be keeping this or any of this wood and stuff in here. I'll probably remove it at some point, but that's going to go. I also want to replace this wire. Even though it is a really cool old braided wire, it does not feel the safest. I feel like that could cause a short circuit pretty easily and become an issue, so I'll probably just be replacing it with some spare wire I have laying around. The motor is going to need some work, and what I'm going to do before we go in and clean some stuff out is I want to separate the motor from this bottom truck, so then we can actually clean that out a little more thoroughly, because I have a new technique to try. The other weird thing is on most of these, the worm gear is actually held in by a washer, but someone at some point in time replaced it with a different washer and a screw instead of just like a snap-on washer that they're supposed to have. So that will make it, I think, a little bit easier to tear down, but it's kind of an odd design choice. So to start, I think I need to remove this one bizarre screw. I might be able to do it through this little gap right here. But I think doing this, yeah, doing this is also going to require me to hold the gear with one hand just because of the way this is positioned. So this will be a little bit awkward to get out. And just like that, that screws out of there. Next up, you might be able to see it hiding right in there. That screw holds the motor onto this truck. So I want to remove that so we can separate the motor and the truck. All right, and there we go. All those pieces have been separated. So now I'm just going to throw this to the side. I'm going to get this screw out of here just so we do not lose that. And I'll throw this gear off to the side. Then I will take you away from this setup and show you exactly what my plan for this thing is. So about a year ago, I got an ultrasonic cleaner, and just today was my first time using it, and I'm going to use it again on this truck. What my suspicion is judging by the condition of these axles, there's a lot more dirt than it looks like in here. Because I'm pretty sure the axles these gears sit on are supposed to be silver, and I think they're just completely coated in dirt. So in theory, putting this in an ultrasonic cleaner should resolve that. So I'm going to go make some new solution for that thing, let it warm up, and then we will throw this thing in and let it rest for a while. So I'm now outside and I have this thing set up in a little corner of my backyard. So I'm just going to put this part in here. It is filled up exactly how it should be, and I'm going to turn the thing on. And now we'll come back at 2:10, which is in about 15 minutes. Maybe restart it, maybe take it out, but for now we'll get back to work. Now that we're out of the filthy, forgotten corner of my backyard, it's time to go back to work on the chassis of this thing. And to start, I do want to remove this whole lighting setup. It looks like both these pieces are just held in by screws, so we'll see if unscrewing these will just remove all these huge chunks of wood, because I'd honestly prefer them not to be on the frame. Even if they are vintage and have been here since the thing was built, I don't like them, so I'm going to get rid of them. So I think next up, I'm going to grab another tool that I have laying around right over here, and I think I need to cut this black wire. It looks like it's holding the pieces together from the bottom, and there's another one holding them together from the top. So if we leave them intact, it'll be impossible to get this thing apart. So that's the first piece out. Now we've just got to get this little wooden piece down here out, hopefully without breaking anything. And now all of that ridiculous lighting system is out of the locomotive. Now I think the next step is to work on this wiring. I've got this piece of yellow wire right off to the side here. I believe this came from a decoder or something like that that didn't get used. So I think I'm just going to strip this wire and use it to replace this old worn out braided wire. That wire put up a little bit of a fight, so I just did that off camera and I stuck a new glob of solder right down there. Hopefully that one will stay. I've had some issues with some of this old metal and soldering, so hopefully this time I don't have any issues. Now we just have the motor left, and then we can throw the new yellow wire on. Alright, now that wiring work should all be done, which is good, so now we can focus on cleaning up the motor itself. To start, I'm just going to move this brush out of the way, and I'll use a toothpick, turn this thing over by hand, and clean out the little gaps in the commutator. And now I'm going to use a fiberglass pencil to clean this off, then I'll go through it with a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and then use the fiberglass pencil once again. Perfect, and I think that is just about good for the motor. I'm just going to set it on its side, or prop it up on something. I think I'll prop it up on this piece here, and I'll test it out with this blue box controller, just to see if it works. Sounds like it needs oil, so I will give it just a little tap of oil, see if that makes it any better. And that seems really good. Now I'm going to make a change that should further help the performance. However, it'll make this thing less original. It's already got some unoriginality to it, especially with the wiring, the weird lighting system it had, and whatnot, along with the paint. So I don't really think it matters that much, but I'm going to be replacing the original magnet for some neodymium ones that I have. And I think all I really am going to have to do is remove this screw, remove the original magnet, and then throw the new ones in there. And I'll see if I can make up a little shim or something to be able to screw this motor back together. But if not, from another Varney engine I've worked on, it does not actually seem to be the end of the world. These seem to be pretty good just with the magnets like this. So I think now that it's about 210, I'll take a break, check on the power truck, and then I'll return if I've restarted it, if it's done, whatever the situation is. I decided to give that truck about another 15 minutes in the ultrasonic cleaner, so I think I'm just going to start cleaning up some pieces of the model. I will start with this plate. I believe it's the plate between the motor and the truck. It looks pretty dirty, so I'm just going to give it a good cleanup. And next up, I'll clean up this whole worm gear assembly thing. Since it's out of the locomotive for now, and since we're still waiting on the other part, I think it'll be a good use of time. And then lastly, I think I'll clean up the wheels here with the fiberglass pencil once again. I tried it on another unit that I have, and this seems to work pretty well. So, the truck is now out of the ultrasonic cleaner, and for the most part, it got the dirt off of there. There's still a little bit left in there, so I'm going to use a little bit of rubbing alcohol, roll this thing around, clean it out, repeat, whatever I need to do to get it perfectly clean. Alright, and I think with that cleaned up, it's just about time to start putting everything back together. I still do need to put some oil in the whole system and whatnot, but I can do that once everything's back together, especially since this part is still out of the locomotive. So to start, I have to do the opposite of what I did taking this thing apart. I need to screw the motor back into the chassis first. I decided to, off camera, put on both the motor and the shaft in here. They were giving me quite a bit of a headache, and I just decided it would be simpler to do it off camera. So I think all I have left to do is I just want to give these gears a little bit of oil. And down here, I don't really think I want to do too much. I don't want to overwhelm everything down here with oil. Then critically, I think I do really need to oil the bearings that go through the metal chassis, both on the wheel side and on the gear side. Give that a few little test spins. And I think I'll work that in just a little bit more off camera, then we can throw the shell on and give this thing a test run. I think I've worked everything in enough by hand, so I think it's finally time to throw the shell on the thing, and then we can give it a brief little test run. Alright, and the engine is fully assembled. Alright, it is now time to give this thing one test run. We'll see if everything works as planned, and if so, I think it might be time to call this good. So I'll put some power in the tracks. It seems like it's still running a little faster backwards than forwards. I found that with some engines, especially old ones, that seemed common, so that's not too huge of a surprise. And I think I'll call that good. There's still quite a lot more I could do to this model. I could add some new couplers, some lighting, could even throw DCC in it, put a new motor in it, whatever. But I don't think I'm going to go much further with this one or the other unit I have because I really don't have a need for them. It was kind of fun working on them, but I think their time with me is just about done. Couplers I could install, however they would be very difficult because I would probably have to modify the frame, especially if I wanted to put some KDs on there. So I think for now, these engines, this one and the other one, are perfectly good by my standards.